Good evening and what is up, Razorback Nation? We are back with episode 78 of Hogs on the Hill, your go-to podcast for an in-depth dive on all things Arkansas sports. We're brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgating everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. And our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room where you can get all the Scarlet Letters and all its various flavors, as well as the new hard iced teas as well. Welcome in tonight, guys. And look what the cat dragged in. We have Austin jumping on, joining us for a show tonight. How's it going, Austin?
Yeah, man, I just couldn't stay away. I had to come back at least before Christmas anyway. But yeah, I'm glad to be here and talk a little ball.
Yeah. So, not a ton going on right now. You got Arkansas basketball in full swing, and then here in less than, about 7-8 days, you're going to have the floodgates open with the Arkansas transfer portal. And, until then, I mean, it's Arkansas basketball talk, and, we'll jump right in. Arkansas had a big game on this past Saturday against Houston, and, unfortunately, another single-digit loss to, one of the top teams in the country. At the end of the day, I was telling somebody, Arkansas has 3 losses, but you look at who they're to, and you know what? I'm okay with it. I'd rather win. But at the end of the day, this is going to make this team better in the long run.
Right. Exactly. And, here's the thing about what happened on Saturday. They played a really good team who was on their best night. Arkansas wasn't on their best night. And sometimes it just comes down to that. So, like, if you're freaking out about this basketball team, don't. I mean, look, they still scored 85 points. They still held between like the 10-minute mark and the end of the first half. They held Houston to like 9 points. So in that 10-minute stretch, they had excellent defense. It's just that 8-minute stretch before that they let go of the ropes a little bit. And to be honest, it really kind of set off whenever Trevin Brazile got those two fouls and got set early. And I'm not saying that he's, if he were in, it would have been different, but it just felt like things seemed like hard to overcome. And this is kind of one of the first times they've had to face that adversity on such a high level whenever they're, third best player, shooter anyway, is out, and they just couldn't make it up because like Malik Thomas is out there, and he just no one else really could get in the rhythm either. And then they finally got it back within that 8 minutes, but the damage was already done. They had 40 points with like 10 minutes left. So yeah, it was coming back from that to get within 8 points. To go in a half, that in and of itself is pretty remarkable to do.
Right. And that's the thing, this team showed fight and grit that it continued to battle back. And, this team has been led over the past month with, we knew he was good. We knew he was good at the beginning of the season, but just over these past few games, the emergence of Darius Acuff, I mean, he carried the team in this game, 27 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep, 8 of 11 from the free throw line, had 5 rebounds, 7 assists, had 1 block, 1 steal, played 39 minutes in this game. And, like to your point earlier, if you have a couple other guys step up, different story. But then also on the flip side of that, Arkansas, it seemed like in this game, couldn't get out of their own way. Between the turnovers in this game, having 12, and then, shooting 60% from the free throw line, those things two combined, along with like what you mentioned, guys getting in foul trouble early, just didn't help Arkansas out any at all.
Right. And like I was saying earlier, I mean, like when I say they had their best game or were on their best game, they were really on their best game. On average, this is after Arkansas's game, they averaged 54%. Against Arkansas, of course, it's like 51. Like it really good. And then like you said, Arkansas, whenever they had the chances, they just couldn't get over that hump. Free throws were one of them. Timely missed 3-pointers. I don't want to say dumb mistakes, but because this was probably the hardest defense they've played all season, maybe that they'll play the entire season. And they just kind of got smacked in the face, and it took them a while to get over it.
Right. And that's the thing too is, and as I look at this box score and look over the past, 3 to 4 games, the question to me is, where's Malik Thomas at? I mean, he's one of the guys that you need to step up. He needs to be one of your top scorers, and he scores 7 points in this game. Over the past few games has really been absent. I mean, scores a handful of points, hasn't played just necessarily ton of minutes, played 15 in this game, still coming off the bench. But, I mean, for this team to have success, we saw it early on in the season, is he's got to be on his game and performing like Darius Acuff right now, and he's just not.
Yeah, he isn't. And this is just proof that he's a freshman. That's all it is, right? He's coming in and he's having a little bit of a slump. And, it's the first time that he's really, had to deal with it since he's been here. And he's got to fight his way out of it. I mean, there's people out there talking right now like, oh, he's going to have to stay at Arkansas another year. He's not where, he wants to be. He's not going to be drafted very high. But I'm like, he's had 3 games out of like 12 that he hasn't played well. The other ones, remember, he's scoring like double digits, 12, 13, 15, sometimes 20, 25 points a game. Like just, cool it with it a little bit. And whenever you're a shooter like he is, you're going to be streaky sometimes.
Yeah.
And right now he's just at the bottom of that trough, and he's going to come back up. Have no doubt. He'll probably start coming back up once SEC play starts and he starts to get comfortable like that. Really, all he's got to do is start seeing them go in, and he'll be back to where he was.
Right. And you're going to need that because you open up conference play with Tennessee, so we're going to need him back ASAP.
Tennessee beat Houston.
I was about to say, yeah, Houston's one loss is to that Tennessee team. So
yeah, and it was probably one of their worst games. So Tennessee got them at the bad end. Arkansas got them at the good end. And that's not anything against Houston. Great team. But it would have been closer, I think, if they wouldn't have been so lights out.
Right. And, the other surprising thing, we just talked about where's Malik Thomas, but you got to talk about the other Malik and the emergence of Malik Ewan. Over these past few games, he has really stepped up, especially with the struggles of, Nick Pringle. Nick Pringle started the game, played 9 minutes. Malik Ewan played 28 minutes in this game. He scores 20 points, 5 of 9 from the field, 10 of 17 from the free throw line. Would like to see that much better, but also gets in there, gets you 9 boards, so almost has a double-double. Gives you 1 assist, 2 blocks in 28 minutes. Like, you got to love what Malik Ewan is giving you right now, especially with the struggles that Nick Pringle's having. Hopefully he can kind of maybe get things figured out because, you're going to need both those bigs alongside Trevor Brazile, especially once conference play gets started up here in about a week.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm glad to see him come out because whenever Arkansas picked him up, I'm like, whenever I'm thinking about Pringle versus Ewan, I was like, I think Ewan's probably the better one. Not necessarily the defensive end, and I think that's why Pringle gets to start. But just having him in the post, having a true big in the post, being able to muscle his way to the rim, I think that's something you can't, that you have to have. I mean, Cal even said at the beginning of the year that if you don't have good post players, you're not really elite.
Right.
And right now he's showing that. And it's good because, like we said, Trevor Brazile only played 21 minutes in this game. And he just couldn't get open. They had a really good game plan for him with him and Darius Acuff, to be honest with you. But Darius is just so good that he's like, whatever, I'm gonna go score anyway. Trevor Brazil ain't like that right now, at least. So, but he made up for that. And I'm hoping that one of these days Nick Pringle can also do that as well.
Right. If he can just get things clicking, that'd be fantastic, because you've seen him struggle, different times, whether it be shooting the ball. We see in this game no points, 0 of 2 from the free throw line on his only attempts there. But once you get into conference play, I wonder if it's going to be a very similar thought to last year. Is what we saw with Jonas Adu, very slow to get started. Yes, that was due to injury. Not sure if Nick Pringle has something going on. There was some talk about him having a potential back issue going on. So, there could be something there. But, maybe once we get into conference play, he can really get going. But, it's good to see Malik Ewan having success while Pringle struggling. And that's what you need with these two bigs is, you'd love to see them both playing well at the same time. But, when one struggles, the other one can find a way to come out there and play his game. And then, your guy coming off the bench, Billy Richmond, 12 points, 5 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from deep, 2 rebounds for him, 1 assist, and 2 steals in 24 minutes. Got to love the energy Billy gives you. And then Carter Knox, we saw him have a big game against Texas Tech, and then, another, subpar game here with 3 points. So, that it seems like that might be the season we're in for from Carter, is just some inconsistency, unless as we get into conference play, he kind of levels out.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. And you'll have dips with all these guys, right? The only one I'm hoping doesn't happen is Darius, because if he dips, then there's the whole offense, basically. But that's just the way basketball is. People are going to have dips, and it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster of a season. But look at the rest of the SEC. They're not going to have 14 teams in the tournament this year. So it may be 7, 8. Arkansas has a legit chance of being champion. Not necessarily the tournament, because the tournament is just kind of like craps. You just, no one really, if you're up there anyway, you don't really want to have to play all the way through the tournament. So I still think Arkansas has a really good shot of winning the regular season championship, though. They just got so many good pieces. People talk about Arkansas being the most complete team in the country. I think that's probably pretty close to the case. There's not a whole lot of weaknesses for Arkansas. But there still are. Physicality is one of them. Defense isn't great, especially like on the ball defense. You saw that a lot against Houston, where they just kind of blew by guys. That's got to get better. Whenever you go like mano a mano with athletes, Arkansas should have some, the best 5 on the court most times.
Right.
And that's including Houston. When you take just the roster by roster, Arkansas had more athletes. They had the better athletes. But Kelvin Sampson is a damn good coach. And He gets those guys and he develops them into like really, really sound basketball players.
Exactly. And so you look at it, quick look into, conference play. So, Arkansas has one more non-conference games against James Madison on the 29th, and then open up conference play with Tennessee on January 3rd. But I think the biggest surprise is if you look at the conference right now, Vanderbilt 12-0 right now. I don't think anybody saw that coming from that Vanderbilt team this year. You've got Georgia at 11-1, LSU at 11-1, Missouri at 10-3, and then Alabama at 9-3. So, you've got a lot of teams that I wouldn't necessarily pick to being up towards the top of the conference. Not saying just conference rankings, but in terms of looking at their non-conference schedule. But I think that's the surprise to me, is seeing how some of these teams have developed over the offseason.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Vandy. They're 12-0, but they haven't played anyone.
Anybody.
They've played anybody. The toughest team they've played is Memphis, and then went to overtime. So, and Arkansas blew Memphis out. So, we're seeing this right now They're ranked ahead of Arkansas. And this just tells you that the AP voters for basketball are the same as the AP voters for football, because they just look at records and they say, well, they're in the SEC with a better record than Arkansas, so we must put them in front of them. So it's just like, what are y'all doing?
Right.
Just look at what Arkansas has done, who they played versus what Vanderbilt's done and who they played. So,
and not to mention these top teams kind of beating each other up, because I mean, we just saw the other day this Texas Tech team that Arkansas beat took down Duke, who beat Arkansas. So I mean, you're going to have that, throughout the season.
Yeah, that's why these transitory wins they don't matter in basketball. Like, it has to be settled on the court. That's why much to Hobbs' dismay, that's why the NCAA tournament is the best tournament in sports. I mean, because you have to go out there and prove it at that day that you're the best team on the court, and sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't, and that's why you have Cinderellas. That's why you have all these storylines. It's just legit amazingness. So I don't care that Texas Tech beat Duke. I care that Arkansas lost to Duke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I mean, you look at it in the long run too, with, yes, you look at Arkansas has 3 losses, but you look at who they are. And there are those that you qualify them as good losses. Now it's weird to say losses are good, but in terms of when you look at how teams are, those Q1 losses and how teams, in the selection committee look for the SEC or the NCAA tournament, that's what they look at. All those quads, where are you at and who you lose to. And, even thinking about quad 1, I think all those are considered quad 1A games too. So it's like, they're losses, they're single digit losses. So they're a loss, but in the long run, it's not going to hurt you as much.
Right. And that's, I mean, if you're going to have a loss, you want those. You don't want quad 2s.
Stay away from quad 4 and 3.
Yeah, especially. Quad 3, 4 is bad news. That's going to drop your net ranking a lot. So.
Yeah. And so, another game, Arkansas's got one final tune-up game before they get ready to enter conference play. James Madison coming into the Bud Walton here in a few days. Nothing to write home about with this James Madison team. They're 7-6. And I think this is just going to be another game, hopefully a game where a guy like Malik Thomas, Nick Pringle can kind of get some confidence as they go into SEC play. I mean, that's really about all there is to it for that game.
Yeah, I want toward Malik Thomas just to get him some reps, get him back into the rhythm of things. That game against Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. Quick synopsis from Zane. He said he couldn't hop on tonight. He's got a family Christmas going on, but he said hard loss, maybe a Final Four Houston team we lost to. I agree there. They are a strong team for sure. Nothing to be mad about. Fought back from a huge deficit. So, I mean, kind of all those things we summarized there. And I think that's even in a loss, that's what you can ask for. The team didn't quit, fought back. And so, I'm ready to enter conference play. Conference play for Arkansas this year is going to be another fun year for Arkansas. They start out with Tennessee. You have trips to Ole Miss and Auburn back-to-back, come back home, play South Carolina, Georgia. You got Vandy at home. The one that I'm going to circle that a lot of Arkansas fans might be ready to watch is later on in the season at Florida, Darius versus Boogie. I think that's what everybody's going to be ready and waiting for.
Which Florida fans aren't super happy about Boogie Fland either. So that's and I hate it for him because I liked him. I think he's good. I mean, to be honest though, we're talking about Boogie versus Darius. It's Darius, like 100% of the time.
And you got to think with Boogie too. His freshman season got cut short. So if you think about it, he's really, if you want to say it this way, he's still going through his freshman season for the most part. You know, he didn't get to play a ton of basketball last year. You know, played most of non-conference. 11, 12 games before getting hurt right in the start of conference play. And then having sit out, tried to come back during the tournament, didn't necessarily play a ton. So, I mean, development-wise, it's almost like he's still continuing to develop, where he didn't get to do that last year.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think they'll probably be fine, but he also had big shoes to fill, which with a guy, I can't remember his name now. Shoot, let me look it up. But Florida's point guard for last year was insane. I think he's like one of the reasons why they won that the national championship last year.
Walter Clayton Jr.
Clayton Jr. Yeah, I mean he was phenomenal, and that's hard to go in there and just do. I mean, just like he's not on the level of Nick Saban, but just go in there and ask like Kalen DeBoer how hard it is to fill shoes like that. It sucks because I mean there's people right now in Alabama that want Kalen DeBoer out. I'm just like, y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy.
Right. And so, yeah, conference play is going to be fun. But to your point, Arkansas or the SEC is not going to get as many teams in as what they did last year. I think last year was just kind of a year you put an asterisk by an anomaly type situation where Arkansas got 14 out of its 16 teams in. You probably won't see that for a while, but
ever.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, Arkansas did take the loss, but like we said, it's one of those quote unquote good losses in the quad one area. And who knows? Maybe Arkansas matches up with this Houston team again and can get the upper hand. I would like to stay away from that, but if it does, who knows? Cal's good about quote unquote revenge games. We've seen that thus far, so I'm excited for conference play.
Yeah, me too.
Same to you, Transplant Texan. He said, "Merry Christmas, Caleb and Austin." Right back at you.
Merry Christmas, man.
Christmas is just in a couple days. Can you believe it already?
Dude, actually, my wife was like, what are we doing what time is your grandma saying tomorrow? I'm like, tomorrow? What are you talking about? She's like, yeah, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's insane. Right.
It's just like this year went by so fast.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, I feel like once you get older, that's just the way it is. We'll blink and we'll be like 60. And it's
right.
But
so
yeah.
As we jump over to talk some Arkansas football, we kind of got some official announcements over the past week or so where, we'd been speculating saying, hey, these are the guys Arkansas is targeting for X, Y, Z, this position, this coordinator. All that's been made official now. As we talked about before the show, Arkansas still bringing on analysts as their pool for coaches and analysts is much larger than the previous staff. But so, we officially know on the offensive side of the ball, you got Tim Cramsey coaching the offense. It's offense coordinator coming over from Memphis. Clint Trickett going to coach your quarterbacks coming over from Jacksonville State. David Johnson coming over from Florida State to take over running backs coach. Larry Smith coming over from Memphis to take over wide receivers coach. Morgan Turner being retained as the tight ends coach. Jeff Myers coming over from Memphis as your O-line coach and running game coordinator. Marcus Johnson coming over from Ohio State as another offensive line coach. So offensively, I don't think this is the way he meant it, and I think this is the way people took it, is that, the more I sit back and look at this coaching staff, not bad. Silverfield said he's going to come out there and wow you with his coaching staff, and I think maybe people were thinking, oh, he's going to go get some big names. But he's quietly and slowly put together a really solid coaching staff.
I mean, you got to think about it. At least on the defensive side, he went out and got a guy who complements what Arkansas lacked last year. Right. Turnovers, pressure, that stuff like that Arkansas couldn't do. That's what he does. Like that's right. He made Florida jump I don't have the numbers in front of me, but made their turnovers jump up, made their sacks jump up. I mean, like from every metric that Arkansas was poor in this year, he's made a big jump over at Florida. So yeah, he's not necessarily the sexiest hire, but like name me a DC that's not like what's his name over at the one that Arkansas was Womack. Like maybe going out there and getting Womack, that would have been more sexy. But like at the same time, the dude has done really good wherever he goes. And he took a bad Florida defense and turned it pretty good. Hopefully he can do that with Arkansas this year and maybe get some guys, get some dudes in the portal and do some really good. Because like we've talked about it before, Arkansas was on the cusp of being a pretty good football team this year. Namely turnovers and, poor decisions down the stretch. That's what did Arkansas in. That's what did Arkansas in. And that's what's done Arkansas in since Sam Pittman really became coach. So hopefully we can get that changed. Hopefully. And Tom, what's his name? Cramsey.
Rock.
Do what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cramsey, the offensive coordinator. That's one of the things he said he hates. He said that one of the things that can really piss him off is not taking care of the ball, and then a couple other things. I can't remember what he said, but like, I mean, you got to have people like that.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I really do like a lot of the assistants. Now I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a big Deke Adam guy. I love Deke Adam, and this Marion Hobby guy, he's still got to convince me. But do you know what he did back in like 2016? Where he was? He's at Clemson, and he was the co-defensive coordinator of that Clemson defense that was number 1 in the country. So like that's a home run hire. I don't care what you say. Like the guy he's got so much D-line experience, plus he has that in the back of his in his back pocket. It's just like I can't help but clap for him. He's done really good.
Right. And
now about like having 4 defensive back coaches, it's a little weird to me, but it is what it is.
Right. And I was going to say the other thing too, is you look at it, specifically with the guy that you mentioned, as part of that Clemson team, but here recently, look at what he's done and been a part of at Tennessee. I mean, look at how good their D-line's been over the past, 2 to 3 years since he's been there too. I mean, he was just an analyst at, this past year, but, it's been impressive. And, the repertoire of, all his experience in the NFL as well. I mean, that's just going to, not be anything but good things. But as we run through this defensive staff, so the guy that Austin alluded to, Ron Roberts, defensive coordinator, came over from Florida, will also coach the inside linebackers, is Arkansas's first $2 million+ coordinator. So, it's like Texan says, I'll read his comment in a minute, but, Arkansas is putting out some money for its coordinators and its coaches. And then, as we mentioned, Marion Hobby, defensive line coming over from Tennessee, Kenji Cotton, defensive line and defensive run game coordinator, Eddie Hicks, cornerbacks coach, Darren Wilson, co-DC and secondary coach, and then Chad Lunsford, strength and conditioning coach, special teams coach, and then Noah Franklin, head strength and conditioning coach. But to what we were saying is, in Transplant Texas here, the increase in staff and salary seems to indicate some pockets have opened up for this football program. The portal pickups will tell more of the story, and P4 players are expected if the money is there. Agreed. And I mean, we've seen that from, I think people are buying in to what Silverfield has to say in his vision. Now, executing it's a totally different story. But, it's like the story that Yurachek told about, his first interactions at that basketball game, talking to a donor, and after 10, 15 minutes of conversation, and he walks away, and that donor comes to Yurachek and gives, 7-figure donation to the football program. I mean, you just don't hear that every day. And so he's really selling his vision and his idea for this program. And I think donors are starting to jump on board.
Yeah, I mean that's what you needed, and here's the thing about Hunter Yurchek. He had two options, right? Because it was very clear that the donors did not trust Sam Pittman. That's why they weren't donating. That's why Arkansas wasn't getting it. I mean, we see that now, right? Arkansas still got to go out there and do stuff in the portal, right? That's going to really prove that they have the money this time, right? They're not just talking crap. But Yurchek had a job to do, and he either had to, the easiest route, fire Pittman and go get somebody else, or convince those people to buy into the program, and he didn't do either. He sat on his hands for 6 years. That's why people were really mad at Hunter Yurchek. And now that the money's coming in, people are going to forget about that most likely. So hopefully, I hope Hunter Yurchek is here forever, because that means Arkansas football is doing well, right? I hope Ryan Silverfield is here forever. I hope he becomes the next coming of Nick Saban. All that stuff. Do I think that? No, obviously. But that's what we, like as fans, that's what you want to hope for, because that means Arkansas is doing well. But we'll have to see whether or not that actually, manifests into anything.
Yeah. And I think one of the bigger things that Transplant Texan mentioned here too is that's going to be big for Arkansas is the fact that we hired an actual football GM, not just a basketball guy like Remy serving the football program in addition to the athletic department as a whole. Remy's going to be the guy that goes out and gets the money type of GM, but the fact that we brought on a GM that's going to be specific for football and has a track record of, you look at his previous stop at Arizona, and it's, I mean, you love to see that's, what you're bringing in to this coaching staff and program as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, that move to get the guy, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, that guy from Arizona, that's a good move. That's another piece of evidence that's pointing to Arkansas going in the right direction, right? To go and steal them from Arizona, which, look at their basketball team. Before, well, they were pretty good before, but he's been able to keep that up, plus turn around their booster stuff for football even. Yeah, it's good. And of course, they have to compete with Arizona State. That's done really good with Kenny Dillingham. But just to get him to come to Arkansas and steal him and finally get a football-specific GM, again, just got to clap your hands with it.
Right. And so I'm excited to see what's going to come of that. It's just going to be fantastic to see. And like they said, these guys we're also going to have, bigger recruiting staff. We're going to have, guys that are going to be actually go out and, hit the portal hard. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what this portal season looks like for Arkansas. Like we mentioned before, overhaul this whole defense. You've kept a lot of the pieces on your offense, running through this real quick. The big two, KJ Jackson's back and Braylon Russell's back. Trevor Jackson, the quarterback that transferred in from Florida State, announced he's coming back. Rodney Hill's back, freshman running back Markeelan Batten. And then you jump over the wide receivers. You're losing Raylan Sharp and Omega Blake to eligibility, but for the most part, your guys that played a lot of snaps, CJ Brown, Andy Jean. You get Ismail Cisse, who missed the season, but was expected to be a big part of this offense back. Jalen Brown, Antonio Jordan, the Arkansas kid that, is expected to, has a lot of talent, just had injury issues this year. Tight ends, that's a question mark still. We don't know too much going on there. O-line, you're getting Caden Kittler back, which is huge to me. Kobe Branham, Cash Courtney. Unfortunately, you're losing Shaq McCroy. And then you jump over the D-line. You've got a handful of guys coming back, but and then in the linebackers, one guy coming back, and that's the Arkansas kid, Wyatt Simmons. And then in your DB room, not a single guy has announced officially anyway that he's coming back. And then your one transfer portal entry from the DB room is Keyshawn Davila, along with Jabari Shaw. But I mean, overhaul this whole defense.
The Villa jumped into the portal. Is that what you said?
Do what?
The Villa jumped in the portal. Is that
Yes,
what
yeah,
you
that's
said?
what I was saying.
Okay. I thought you were saying he was here. Okay, I got you.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I mean, have you talked about any of the other portal guys like Shaq and then Jafard, obviously?
Yeah, to me, that's probably the two biggest guys that I would like to have stayed.
Literally.
Shaq McCroy, super talented kid. And then the other one on the defense, and it makes sense, and I have a very good idea of where he's going, is linebacker Tavian Wallace. Super talented young linebacker, was big T-Will guy. T-Will obviously hired at Texas A&M. Wouldn't be surprised to see Tavian Wallace head down to Texas A&M.
Yeah, we'll see him next year, I think. I'm pretty sure. The Shaq really hurt because I think that they're going to be mostly going for offensive tackles in the portal. I think they're going to make some moves around and move some guys to where they're pretty much just needing tackles. But at the same time, I mean, you got Carius Kern, who is kind of waiting in the wings. Plus, I don't know if you saw this, but I mean, almost every interview that I've seen with Ryan Silverfield, when he talks about the guys that he wants to bring in, he talks about culture and he talks about the right mindset and all that, all the stuff that's, obviously intangible, important stuff that you need. But the one thing he always brings up is speed. He was talking to Courtney Mims and he said, hey, we don't need these guys who are 6'8", 360 pounds. Well, guess who was 6'8", 360 pounds? Shaq McCroy. What happens a few days after that interview? Shaq hits the portal. So I'm like, obviously correlation doesn't equal causation, but I mean, you see the thesis. And not to say, I mean, the guy lost like 20 pounds and he could probably do it again. I think he has the potential to be good here. But he was also a big Sam Pittman guy. He really liked Eric Mateos. And whenever you let go of those guys, they're going to probably follow those relationships. I mean, that's probably what happened with Ian Jafar. The fact that they stayed here and played through the whole season, though, that's really awesome. Like, I don't know if you saw it about an hour ago, David Basil kind of got on Twitter and like went off. I sent you the text a minute ago, but he went off on Ian Jafar, like, are we supposed to, blah, blah, blah about you? Did you not get enough money? And I'm like, most likely he didn't leave because of money. Right. He most likely left because the guy who recruited him and has been here for 3 years is now gone.
Yeah.
And people have been making fun of him since the whole Memphis thing. Like, I mean, to be honest, though, it's kind of warranted. Like, you're 390 pounds, you get pulled by a backup quarterback, you're going to get heat on it, right? But at the same time, why would you want to be with a fan base that's going to be doing that, right?
Right.
Why would you want to be at a school where you don't have any more connections? Hell, he might be wherever Deke Adam lands. That's probably where he's going to go. But that ain't it. Whatever Baz was doing, that's not it either. So,
right. And so as you look at it too, thinking about what Arkansas's got coming back, then you look at what potentially they can go attack in the portal. And to me, one of the biggest ones is a guy that torched Arkansas this year and is very familiar with Coach Silverfield. That's Memphis running back Sutton Smith. He's officially going to enter the portal. It would be a great 1-2 punch to go alongside Braylon Russell. He's more of the speed guy. Russell, as we know, is your bigger kind of goal line type of power back. And so, go after him. Obviously, the other big one is, from Memphis is the starting linebacker, Everett Russo. He was a guy that was previously committed to Arkansas, ended up at Memphis, and, was one of their key guys last year. Would love to see him come back and head over. A handful of other Memphis guys that you'll probably reach out to. There's DB, Kamari Wilson. We talked about it before we jumped on here. Is will Silverfield go after and try to bring over his true freshman quarterback that he had this past year, Antoine Hill? He was a 6'5", 225, was one of the top quarterbacks in the 2025 class. I mean, you didn't see any in Arkansas, you didn't see Arkansas grab any quarterbacks in the recruiting class. So now we still haven't heard anything from Grayson Wilson. So, what are we going to see in terms of that in the transfer portal? But I'd be willing to expect this transfer portal season to be very much defensive heavy.
Yeah, defensive heavy, and there's Grayson Wilson's coming back, and that kid's a hog. I mean, I don't see him leaving. I would be very, very, very surprised if he left. But if we're talking about defensive guys, I mean that kid from Slippery Rock, I can find his name, Kanye Thompson. I think that's Kanye. Really good. I mean, he's already got a visit to Arkansas. There's a really good article by Best of Arkansas Sports. Y'all should go check it out. They have an interview with him. It seems like he really likes the Hogs. I'll just say that. I mean, I don't know if he'll leave here with a commitment or not, but I think Arkansas had a pretty good chance. Talk about what's the other guy? Rousseau, who's LB from Memphis, and they also have a defensive back who was a blue chip guy too. So there's quality talent in Memphis, right? I mean, you don't just become what Memphis has become without having good talent, right? Coaching can only get you so far, and they've gotten to where they're really, really good, and they have a really good recruiting, and they've gotten guys who otherwise would probably go play for big name school to take a chance on Memphis.
Yeah. And so that's going to be big. Another guy that Arkansas that came out today, Arkansas could be targeting and is in the, could be in the running for is Auburn transfer wide receiver Malcolm Simmons. He's a guy that had 65 catches this past season, 908 yards, 5 touchdowns, or that's over this past 2 seasons. Another high end guy, but it's going to be fun to watch this transfer portal season. It always is, and especially with new fresh blood, if you will. Going in the transfer portal, we've seen Sam Pittman have success in the transfer portal over the past few seasons with a handful of guys where he really, hit a diamond in the rough. You will. You think about up to this past season, Mike Washington came from New Mexico State and was easily one of the top running backs this season. And so if Silverfield can kind of take on that same approach and go get these guys. Now, of course, you're going to get proven guys from Power 4 conferences, but yeah, if you go and get a handful of guys, from D2 schools or maybe some smaller conferences, and they pan out, that's what you need to have success.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to go out and get a whole lot, right? It's just that there's guys on the team that can play for Arkansas, no doubt.
Right.
There's guys just about every roster that can play for Arkansas. It might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 30. Just depending on where you are. So like if they got a D2 tag next to their name, or they've got an FCS or group of 5 tag, I wouldn't put it, we've seen guys come to Arkansas and do well. I mean, look at Isaac Teslaw. He didn't turn out at Arkansas really, but now he's over there and he's got 10 receptions for 5 touchdowns.
I was about to say all he does is catch touchdowns. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, and they're acrobatic or they're tough. I mean, like they're not super easy touchdowns either. They'll throw him a hospital ball and he'll just go out there and make the catch, get up and, celebrate. The kid's really good, and Arkansas kind of wasted him.
Yeah. And then you think about Andrew Armstrong, came from Texas A&M. I think it was like Corpus Christi or something like that, and led the SEC in receiving. So like, I mean, you can find guys that can play at this level that just maybe weren't given the opportunity out of high school. And, I feel like Silverfield could be that type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I think that he's a tenacious recruiter. Like I don't think that's just, I don't think that's just for show. Like you can see him. He's legit, genuinely seems excited to be coaching. Like I don't think he could play. He could be coaching for no, he could be coaching for Ferris State or Harding, and he would have the exact same acceleration that he does coaching Arkansas. I truly believe that, and I think that's going to affect the recruiting. I mean, you would think it does, and then if Arkansas also comes with a bag of cash, it's going to be pretty nice too. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Whenever I wasn't a few weeks ago, I'm hopeful now.
Yeah. Transplant Texan says it'll be interesting to see what the new quarterbacks coach and OC can do with KJ. Hopefully, it doesn't require a 2-year install. I agree. I mean, we saw the flashes from KJ this past season. I know you're more than likely. This piece will be also refreshing. Is more than likely you'll see an open quarterback competition. Yeah, probably KJ is your favorite, but you've got Trevor Jackson, Grayson Wilson. I'm sure that Coach Silverfield is going to be like, all right, whoever wants this job, come out and win the job. But I mean, you got to put odds on favor. It is KJ. But I mean, what we saw from him last year coming in the second half of Texas game and then that Missouri game at the end of the season where he kind of got the start. I liked what I saw. Got rid of the ball, knew when to tuck it. Not a ton of hesitation. And really stepped up in the spotlight, especially if I think back to the Texas game. I mean, you look at him in the second half of that game. Comes out and puts up a decent stat line, over 200 yards passing, a couple touchdowns, and in a half, and you're going against one of the tougher defenses in the SEC. It's like, okay, I see you.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all the things that you want. He did seem a little bit like antsy behind the, in the backfield, but that's to be expected. I mean, the guy's going out there and having to face that type of pressure and stuff. So, like, I get it. And I think that this coming year, I think he's going to probably win the spot. But here's what I think. Arkansas probably needs to go out and get a bona fide quarterback too. Right? I don't think you want to gamble on going out and getting or just riding with KJ Jackson. I think he's going to win the spot. I think he does. But
you want a guy to come in and push him.
Right. And here's the thing. In this day and age, you can be pretty transparent. You can say, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to get this guy and I'm going to pay him, X amount of dollars. And I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars too. One of you guys is going to start. Don't know who it is, but you guys are going to compete for it. The other one, you get to sit back and collect a check. Like, that, it's not like being the quarterback too on NFL rosters is the second cushiest job in the NFL. The other one is probably the backup long snapper. I mean, you get to if they have backup long snappers, you just get to sit back and kind of watch the game most of the time, and you get paid for it. Not bad. And that's what I feel like. That's what they got to do. They got to get a guy that comes in here who is proven, that can go in and play with KJ and see who comes out on top.
Right. Yeah.
I think it'll be KJ. I think KJ's good.
Yeah, exactly. But to your point, riding in the season, unless, Silverfield's just that confident in KJ. To your point, you go out and get a guy that has been a starter before, maybe as a, grad transfer, something like that, a fifth-year senior, somebody that can come in that if something doesn't go right, a guy that can at least come in and just get it done has been there, done that type of situation. But the other big key to me is, and it was announced at the same time as KJ, Quincy Rhodes coming back on that defense, I think is one of the biggest storylines for this Arkansas team after hiring Coach Silverfield.
I mean, that's another thing that points that Arkansas's got money. I mean, that dude, he probably could have been a first-round draft pick, or second-round draft pick. He didn't even really have time to, fill it out either. I mean, as soon as they hired Ryan Silverfield, they were like, boom, we're in. That's because they went there and told him, hey, we'll give you this bag. And it was convincing enough to keep him here. So, and I don't want to sell these guys short. They probably love the Hogs and they probably love Arkansas. So let's, maybe it wasn't that much, but it has to be pretty decent bag to say, hey, skip going out and going into the first round of the NFL draft to stay here, and play for the Hogs. That's, again, really, really good.
Exactly. So, it's going to be fun to see what happens. I'm excited to see what we do here in about a week or so in the transfer portal once that opens up. How aggressive is Silverfield going to be? I mean, we've seen him at Memphis having high turnover teams. I mean, they had, 70-plus new players this past season. So, You're probably going to see that type of turnover. We know a handful of guys are coming back, but I mean, you're going to have, for the most part, probably a very new team for Arkansas next year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You got to keep a few key pieces back with Quincy Rhodes coming back. Kevin Otis, young guy, Keandre Johnson, both younger guys on that D line. That'll be good to get back. But other than that, your linebackers, your DBs, more than likely are going to be brand new across the board. And I think with how last season went, nobody's going to argue with that. Transplant Texan said here, Rhodes plays the same or better on a team with more than 2 wins, automatically increases his draft stock next year.
Well, that's true, but I don't think he had to really improve that much to begin with. He was still going to get paid, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
how much that these kids have been looking at and buying into the vision of Silverfield as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. I don't know how,
like Quincy Rhodes, who, like, to your point, could have been a late first round, second round draft pick, to come back out of nowhere and come back for his first season where there's a ton of unknowns there. You don't know what this team's going to look like. You don't know what's going to happen. But to have that type of confidence in a new coach just, days after being hired, I think that speaks a lot.
Yeah. I mean, effective communicator, basically. That's what it sounds like he is, and that's good. And I mean, the guy comes in and changes the light bulbs. I don't think that was a gimmick either. I think the dude just was like, all right, we got to change some stuff.
Right.
We got to tear this thing literally from top to bottom, just tear it up and go out there and rebuild in his own image, basically.
Yeah. And so it's going to be a fun ride once the transfer portal opens. Now, the fun thing to remember is it is only a 15-day window. It's not a 30-day window like previous years. They've got a 15-day window from January 1st once the transfer portal opens up. I believe it's January 1st.
January 2nd, I believe.
2nd, yeah. So they'll have from the 2nd to the 17th to, it's going to be probably a fast and furious 2 weeks there as these guys are looking for new homes. And, we get quote-unquote portal pops throughout, those 2 weeks on guys that are going to come to Arkansas and, see what this team looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to get ready to wrap up here. Like I said, December 29th, Arkansas is going to have its last non-conference basketball game against James Madison. We're going to keep you up to date once the transfer portal does open up here with all the latest news for guys that are going to be coming in. And then we appreciate Austin jumping on with us due to some, as Zane mentioned in the comments earlier, some family stuff going on. And so anything else before you get out of here, Austin?
No, man. I'm glad to be a little bit and talk a little ball. Voice it instead of write it, but just right. Thanks.
Yeah. Anytime, you're more than welcome to jump on with us. But, with that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and where you get your podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you don't miss any time we go live or any information we're going to bring you guys. And we'll be back sometime in the next after Christmas, before the new year. That's still TBD as it is holiday season. So we'll let you guys know. But with Austin, myself, we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you next time on Hogs on the Hill.